Okay, so we are here with the North Node, South Node series. Yay! Saturn series is done because that is so depressing. But our North Node and South Node placements are really important in our chart, or important in our chart. So the North Node is basically where we are trying to head towards in this lifetime, what is going to bring us more soul fulfillment, because it's kind of far away from us. It feels kind of scary and intimidating, but it is something that we kind of yearn for and want deep down inside. And it might be the secret sauce to how you actually get what you want in life, if you are actually doing the work or being brave or moving towards this North Node placement, whichever zodiac sign yours is in, as well as which house it is in as well. Those two things are going to give you the clues for your personalized North Node kind of explanation, and always think about your whole natal chart and your unique planetary placements and aspects, and how they combine, and think of the transits that are going on right now in the world. Not everyone is the same age, so things are hitting at different life stages for each and every one of you, and that is going to determine, also depending on what choices you made during those times, what kind of path you're going to be taking. Or what opportunities open up for you or are kind of blocked for you. And our South Node placement is basically where we're super comfortable in. It's like we don't even have to try. It's common sense. It's almost like street smart, like you just know it and you don't really know why, whether you believe in past lifetimes and you've mastered this area in life for many rounds of life, and you got it so down that you are beyond the PhD of your South Node. You could write the book of your South Node placement. Or you can think of it as like just during childhood, you just naturally took on this, archetype and role, without anyone trying to tell you what to do or told you anything. You just did it unconsciously. This is where you are super comfortable. It is, where you kind of cling on to or go to all the time because you just know it. You know it so well. Just like all of us with our strengths and weaknesses, will tend to go towards what we're good at more so than what we suck at, and so don't forget to work on your weaknesses, work on things that you're not the best at, even though you need extra help or tutoring or research and you have to practice, like every spare moment that you have, work on your weaknesses, a little bit. Doesn't mean you have to be perfect. Doesn't mean you need to master it or anything like that. But this is kind of relating to moving towards that North Node to feel more fulfilled, more happy, getting what you ended up wanting, even though that took you many years, you're slowly just moving in that direction. So your South Node is kind of like you're just so used to doing this area of life so much. You are like the master of your South Node. I forgot what I already said. But your south node is just where you're super comfortable at, where you have lived many, many lifetimes as this archetype. And so you don't need to learn anymore about that. You know, you've done it, you've been there, done that. And now, you know, you're kind of bored spiritually, and you want to try something that feels kind of like out of the box, you know, and that is your north node placement. So it's really good for your spiritual and soul growth, and practicing not staying stuck, you know. So yeah, I think that that's pretty much it. So now we're going to go through each of the zodiac signs. We're going to start with Aries, or first house. So check out both your zodiac sign of where your north node is, as well as the house, you know, whatever zodiac sign that house that zodiac represents. You know, check out that area as well for more clues if you are doing the research all by yourself. So good luck and see you. Yeah. Okay, south node in Virgo, north node in Pisces. So coming from a south node in Virgo, you basically have the PhD in Virgo energy, or this is very like common sense to you. So think kind of like healthcare, daily routine, super duper organization, or, you know, asserting, or not like asserting, taking action in these type of things. It's very natural to you. You care about it. You're more likely to be critical of others, trying to have constructive criticism over others on how they're doing things, what they need to do, how you should be doing. Don't do that. Don't do this. You need to be like this. And it comes usually from, you know, a good place of trying to help. But sometimes it's like, it's very rigid, you know, when you're trying to organize things into such a particular way that is based on what you believe or what you perceive as the correct way to do things. You know, you might create problems later down the line, you know, without realizing it, because you're kind of not allowing free flow. And that's what Pisces energy is about, is kind of going with the flow, trusting, you know, not letting things that become imperfect or not according to plan or the way you wanted things to play out, not let it get to you, not needing these kind of alternative ways of doing things that just like seems like, you know, to affect you so much to where now it gives you anxiety. You analyze and criticize every little thing that is not right, or how you perceive things should be, or, you know, it's almost like catastrophizing. And so coming from a south node Virgo, not Libra, you have this tendency to be like that, very, you know, wanting to help. And by wanting to help, sometimes you might come off as a little controlling, you know, not like you're trying to control someone or whatever the situation is, but it can come off like that because you're trying and put someone or whatever into the way you believe is the way to do it. This is the right way to do it because you know it so well. And you know, you're trying to create organization and structure. And when things go wrong, you have something to say about it, or something is going on in your mind that is going to make you go kind of crazy. Because it's a Mercury ruled sign, you know, Virgo sign. And, you know, you've done this so much over and over and over again in many lifetimes, you know, if you believe in that. And so even doing that during your life, you know, perhaps like you grew up in a family where there's just like no boundaries at all. It was just too free flowing or whatever. And it gave you so much anxiety that you had to create some kind of structure and organization because you just kind of became the leader of organization. And hey, we need to do it like this. You need to do it like that. If you don't do this, then you're going to ruin your life. You're not thinking down the line, like, what are you doing? You know, like, noticing these tiny little details in something. And, you know, if you don't see it, you know, working out or whatever, and other people are still going to go with it because you can't control them, right? You know, they're living their own life and destiny and things like that. But it might make you feel very critical of them. Like, why would you do something like that? That's so dumb. You know, like you don't understand what you're getting yourself into and the trickle effects of what is going to happen. This is not the best decision. You shouldn't be doing like that, you know? And so you might be kind of fighting someone who doesn't want to hear it anymore, you know, and that might irritate you because you care, you're trying to help, you know, and, you know, like trying to move towards this North Node in Pisces is just like learning to let go, learning to surrender, and learning to trust, especially if you believe in a higher power, God, Jesus, whatever, Allah, whatever is your faith. If you have one, if you believe in something bigger than what you control as a tiny microscopic little human being in relation to the universe and all the stuff that's in it, aliens, spirits, angels, demons, weird shadow people and lizard reptilians and all this stuff that maybe you don't believe in or whatever, because that is beyond this kind of physical 3D reality. The Virgo South Node is real earth life. You know, it is the daily bread. It is the daily work. It's how you survive. It's, you know, think of the farmer in the old time, and you had to wake up when the sun rose and you had to start getting to work. You need to tend to the farm, tend to the farm animals and keep up with it, and, you know, harvest the fruits or whatever, the vegetables, and start canning because you don't want all of that vegetation to go to waste, but because you can't eat all of it, you know, at one time, you know, and then you know, cycle things out. And so you're on like this crazy schedule that you have to keep on it, because if you don't keep on this schedule of your farm life, you know, and walking out to the well to get your water for your family, if you start slacking on these things, when, you know, we don't live in this kind of the world that we live in today, but that also depends on where you're living in the world. But if you live in more of a Western developed civilization of some form, you're kind of spoiled, you know, to be honest, in comparison to a huge chunk of billions of people who have no access to how easy Westerners or anyone who has a freaking grocery store and online, you know, purchases or whatever, and it can be delivered to your doorstep within a few days, you know, like they don't even have access to stuff like that. So if you slack off on your daily routines, your farmland, your animals, these herbal tonics and medications that you need to pre-prepare because they take months for the tinctures or whatever to seep out of these little herb things for medicines and stuff, you might die, you know? And so that's kind of like the nervous, anxious energy of this South Node in Virgo, you know, and where you're kind of coming from. Because if things are not, you know, in order the way you like it to, if things are not, you know, your day is not organized by every single time, and all your appointments are aligned in the way you want it to align, no matter how, you know, like other people might not be able to accommodate to your schedule, but you really need your schedule to be the way you need it to be in order to function. Otherwise, your life is going to be ruined. You know, your life can't flow or whatever. And so everything has to be in a very critical schedule, you know, and trying to move through this Pisces North Node is learning to kind of just go with the flow, not like being on any particular schedule, feeling intuitively what you need to do, what you don't need to do, how to respond, how to react to the other people in your environment, to learn how to sense their energy, what they need, you know, not be like, I know what you need, you know, and think about it, you know, and kind of detach this kind of intuitive psychic feeling center of yourself. It's learning to move towards that kind of feeling energy instead of like, oh, we have to follow a plan. We need to do it like this. We need to follow the Excel spreadsheet. We need to follow the directions to a T. You know, like, I don't know if you've done any of those exercises or kind of like, I don't know, they did it in school when I was in school a long time ago. It's like if you were to write down the instructions for an alien to use toothpaste and brush their teeth for the very first time if they have teeth to brush, because I don't know, how would you write in, you know, exact order what you need to do to, you know, put water on the toothbrush, and then you need to unscrew the toothpaste lid, and then take, like very detailed instructions, and then you when you swap those instructions to somebody else and they actually follow it, if they know how to follow directions and not like just, well, I already know how to, do the toothpaste thing, pretend you don't know how to do the toothpaste thing. If their instructions are incorrect or there's things missing in those instructions, things are out of order because there was like an assumption that you would just know how to do it. I thought it was common sense, but common sense is not common sense to everybody. Then, that alien from outer space is not going to comprehend this weird earthly thing of brushing your teeth that is like so bizarre to them. It's so foreign and alien to them. So that is kind of like this Virgo South Node energy is like such critical, minute detail in how to do every single thing. How do you need to pose? How do you need to just smile? How do you need to stand? How are you supposed to do this and that? Or, do your homework and not do this or whatever. And it's so thinking analytical based and not like a feeling intuitive based, So you're trying to move towards that, even though it's really hard to let go of your perfectionistic qualities of being so critical, not only of yourself, but of other people, and learning to let go. Possibly if you're someone who criticizes a lot of people or people who are at work and they don't do a good job, and you just have something to say all the time. You have some kind of criticism all the time. That you might feel like you're going crazy because you are the PhD of Virgo energy, like in healthcare or something. It's like you pick up on this stuff so fast. You're so smart, and dealing with other people who can't do that is like mind-boggling. It like, you can't sleep at night. You're like, these people are so stupid. I don't understand. It like, and you have to learn to just like, you can't control everybody. You can't control what goes on. There's a higher power that, maybe it's meant to be, maybe people are supposed to just freaking get injured and die because their healthcare person just doesn't know what the hell they're doing, and maybe school and all of those things are just, they become so dumb that you can't believe it. And you're just one person and you just have to watch everything that you believe, because maybe your beliefs are a little bit distorted. Who knows? Everything you believe is that it should be a certain way. It's just like falling apart. It's just dissolving like quicksand, and everybody is sinking in the quicksand, and you can't help anybody. And you want to help them, and you told them that you shouldn't walk across the quicksand because I knew it was quicksand, but you didn't listen to me, that you're about to walk on quicksand and you need to go around the other way. And now look at this. And now what? I have to come save you again, because Virgo is like how can I help you? How can I serve you? You know, what do you need? It's kind of like an acts of service thing. And then when other people do things which kind of self-sabotage everything, you're like, well, I tried to warn you. What did you think you were going to do? Like, what did you think was going to happen? You know? And so you have to learn to surrender, learn to let go, learn to perhaps believe that there's something greater to something in order for stuff to fall apart. So people learn the hard way so they can rebuild in their own way. And that is their life path, not for you to fix or correct, you know? So kind of like hanging out with people who have like strong Pisces energy or know how to be more intuitive about things instead of being too precise, you know, learning to let go, or they can affirm you of like, oh yeah, it's just like, it depends or whatever. Like, oh, they're just learning something. Like, hopefully, you know, they'll get that energy out of them, and, you know, they'll go through a lot of bad relationships or bad decisions. You know, sometimes you just have to let them do it on their own. Like, you can't tell them what they should and shouldn't do. You can't, you know, try to teach them everything because you care and you don't want them to get hurt, or, you know, you're trying to do all this. Like, sometimes when you put things into other people's brains, especially at a young age, too much, they learn to not listen to their intuition, you know, like you kind of self-sabotage in a way that you didn't intend to. And now they learn to just think and analyze all the time instead of, you know, take the time to kind of just be in the moment and just kind of observe and listen, and then kind of take the time to kind of, maybe it might be like this, maybe it's like that. Does it really, you know, affect me? Is it something that I should intervene with, or just let them, you know, experience their own thing or whatever, you know, and, you know, allow that individual to navigate that situation by themselves. Trust, if you have children, trust that they are not a freaking idiot, you know, that if you gave birth to the children that, you know, you really care for and you want them to have a good life and want them to be really smart and make it in the world, and you have this kind of anxiety to kind of control everything that, you know, they need to do, you need to trust that you gave birth to some really smart kids, you know, and not nitpick at them too much. Otherwise, you can create resentment, or you can create them not learning how to be in tune with their emotions, you know, and then it's not going to happen until like their first Saturn return, when they're like getting close to age 30, or in their teenage years, in their early 20s, when you start seeing the unraveling of what you did and didn't do in their psychological development age, how that energy is kind of playing out now, because they're not consciously, you know, doing it. They're just trying to live out those feelings of unmet needs, or, you know, unprocessed and unrecognized trauma, even though it doesn't have to be like bad trauma. It's like little t trauma, you know, and that's going to freak you out more. But you know what? They're out hanging out with their friends, driving around, and they're going to be ignoring your texts and phone calls because you're annoying the crap out of them, asking them, where are you? Where are you? Who are you with? When are you coming home? Every 10 minutes, they're going to start ignoring you. And so you have to learn how to let go. And maybe the universe, God, whoever you believe in, is going to kind of bring you down to your knees to start realizing this, you know, that, you know, you have to just trust, you know, and let go. Get back in tune with your intuitive self. Learn how to feel your way through things and not think your way through things. Learn to just maybe not care as much. Like, you know what? I don't know what to do. and just let it be. Like, you know what, if it's really that bad, then I'll address it. Otherwise, it's okay for things to be messy. It's okay for everything not to be that organized or whatever. Like, you know what, I can kind of figure it out on my own or whatever. Or, you know, when the world, you know, doesn't go according to your plan, are you able to adapt now because things didn't go to your plan, you know? And so now what are you going to do? You know, you're going to have anxiety about it, or you're going to work with what comes to you now, you know, because you can only do so much, you know? And, you know, Pisces energy is like this no boundaries energy. Like, you think of organization. There's no organization anymore. You know, there's no such thing as time. You know, time is an illusion. You know, Pisces is like that dream fantasy where you escape and then you're like, oh crap, like I'm supposed to be somewhere, you know, like you're off in la la land and you're just being in the moment or whatever. And there's no such thing as time anymore. You're escaping to, you know, something higher. And you just know. It's just like a knowing, like a weird thing about myself. I don't know if it is necessarily real or not. You know, I always question myself. It is a memory of before I was born. And I am kind of like an entity. I have no body. I don't remember any planets or anything, but I remember a lot of stars. I don't feel any like weight or anything. I don't have a body, right? And it's just a sense of being and being present. And there's no need to question anything. There's no questions. There's no vocabulary words. There's nothing. There's no food. There's no hunger. There's no need to think. There's no need to question what is the universe and what is purpose in life and whatever. It's empty. Like, if an entity had a brain, it's an empty brain, you know? Absolutely nothing. And it's just presence. It's being, it's just existing, you know, and maybe you're just witnessing everything and your mouth is closed. Your brain, if you have a brain, is turned completely off and maybe you don't hear anything. And it's just observing and being in the moment, and it's like nothingness and everything all at the same time. And that is the complete opposite of Virgo energy. If you have to think so much, you have to worry a lot, you have to analyze and think of like, if you do this and this has happened, and you know, if we don't do this on time, then this is going to happen, or winter season and summer season is coming, and certain fruits and vegetables, you know, grow in certain times, and you know, the kids they need all of this, and in order to survive, and blah, blah, blah is happening, you know, like it's very almost chaotic, you know? And so this Pisces feeling is just trust in a complete microsecond of an instance. You know everything, and there's no need to question anything. And you just exist, and that's it. And it's pretty peaceful, you know, there's no stress. So that's like a weird memory of mine before I was born. And I remember, maybe I'm a crazy person, I don't know. But right before I was going to be born, I don't remember any specifics, but it was like, I didn't want to repeat however I did it in a past lifetime. I was like, no, I don't want to do it. I want all the hard stuff to come first, you know, which in this lifetime, yeah, everything hard, depending on what kind of hard, you know, you get, you know, what I received, like, yeah, most of my hard kind of emotional lessons and stuff, energy that I had to learn, it's like in the beginning half of my whole life. It's almost like backwards from what you would think a traditional trajectory of what like a person might do in a life. It's kind of like flipped with the order, because like I just didn't want to do it the other way. And I remember still no actual physical body or anything like that. But I remember I wanted all the hard stuff first. And then before I was about to be kind of born, the feeling is like, I kind of compare it to like if you've ever been on a water slide and you are about to go down a tunnel thing with water and you're holding on because it's not your time to go yet, and you feel the pressure in water of, you know, like pushing on your back. It's the feeling of that. It's like it's not time to go, or like, oh God, I don't want to go. Like I already know this is gonna be bad. You're like, I don't want to do it, but then I have to do it, or what? I don't know why I came down here to deal with all of this, you know. Or I volunteered, or you know what? It's like I came for the food, you know, because in outer space or when you're an entity, you don't get to eat the delicious food, you know. And I picked a family or a mom who came from Thailand, and you know that is like the top, you know, universal or whatever. They have the most variety in cuisine, I think, in the world, you know? And so I was like, I have to have a mommy who loves to cook and who came from a country that there's a lot of diverse food. It's not like mashed potatoes and meat, you know? So I think I chose that on purpose. And so that's the feeling, is like this water pushing on your back, and you're like, oh God, it's not time, because there's a timing to things, apparently, especially if you're into astrology. You know, there's a timing of your blueprint and, you know, the energies that you're going to, you know, imprint or, you know, take with you in this teeny tiny little body, you know, because you can't encompass all of the energy in the universe within one physical body. You would freaking explode, you know. So you get a little teeny tiny bit of, you know, your magic sauce, you know, your magic combination, and how you're going to look like, and how that's going to attract and repel things to you for the lessons and blah blah blah, you know. And you're like a little tiny little walking piece of God or the universe or the divine, whatever label you want to call it. Because like I said before, there's no such thing as vocabulary words in whatever language. There's no such thing. We are all one connected thing. You know, if you're alive, if you're a blade of grass, if you're a tree, if you're a dog or a cat or whatever, you are life. If it exists, you are part of creation. If you're a fence, even though that thing is not actually living, it exists. It is part of God. It is part of whatever, you know, it's part of love and creation and this abundance of things that you can't even comprehend. Like, we are so limited as human beings. We think that, you know, we know everything, but there's so much more outside of that little box that we put ourselves in, and what's surrounding us visually. And I don't know, I forgot what I was going to say. That happens to me all the time. So forget the vocabulary words, you know. Learn to feel. That's why you're a human being. I think you're a human being. Learn to feel, learn to trust your intuition, go with the flow. Learn to let things go. Like, what's the pros and cons of whatever situation that you're stressing yourself over, in order to have like a perfect whatever, I don't know, whatever you're worrying about. Maybe it's not as worrisome as you're making it out to be, and that in itself is kind of self-defeating. So it'll depend on you. So it's like, instead of relying on, you know, organized packs. I think I saw this on someone else's comment or whatever. It's kind of like taking very precise, dry piece of spaghetti, and it's organized in boxes, and it's all perfectly, you know, organized in its little containers, and they're all straight and everything. And that's more Virgo. And now you have to learn to be cooked spaghetti. You know, it's all over the place. It's sloppy. You can't freaking, you twirl the fork and then the thing is blah, and the sauce kind of splashes on you once in a while. And sometimes you can catch it, which is great, you know, and sometimes it's just like, it's never a precise, you know, raveling of spaghetti every single time. It's not the exact amount of noodles on a fork every single freaking time, you know. It's just not. It doesn't capture and hold the same amount of freaking sauce on every single bite. Some of it just droops down into the bowl, you know, and you don't get all the freaking sauce, and then you have a lot of sauce at the bottom of the bowl. It's freaking sloppy, you know. And so that is like this Pisces blah. You can't, you know, it just falls out of your fingertips, or it's like sand. You can kind of grasp some of the sand, but then the sand kind of comes out, you know. So it's not really easy to just hold and organize, you know, into a box, you know. So yeah, so that is my interpretation of North Node Pisces, South Node in Virgo. If you found this information informative or it helps you in any way, please like this video to help the algorithm. Please leave a comment. That helps also get my channel out there. Check out my book, Trigger to Change. I didn't bring it in here, but there's going to be a link down below on Amazon. In some parts of Europe, I think you have access to it, but you have to really type my name out there or in the thingy in order to find it. But it's available in English. And I would think that if you're watching this video, you kind of speak English. I'm not sure if you can read English, but yeah, you might find that interesting, as life has its own trajectory for every human being, you know. And that's like a Pisces thing, is like everybody has their own path, you know. Not everybody's path is your path, or the way you try to organize their path for them. They have their own lessons to learn, even though people get hurt, you know, from their mistakes, you know, and what all the things that, you know, makes you have anxiety, you know. And so learn to trust, learn to let go, learn to stay in your own lane, and you will start learning how to move a little bit closer towards this Pisces North Node, and kind of make you feel a little bit more calm and free, you know. So that's always a nice feeling, I think, you know, because it's not your responsibility to fix everything and organize everything and plan everything. It's not necessarily your job, even though it's really nice, you know. So yeah, so check out my book, check out my website, check out my merchandise. You'll find it on my website in the merchandise section, like journals, just little trinkets and stuff based on my artwork. One of them is this thing. It's like a journal and a puzzle, but random stuff if you want to help support my little random stuff. I even have a poster for any fans who like motivational posters of moi. When I did my bodybuilding show 10 years ago, even though I'm not a famous person, but I have to say I like that photo because I took it myself, and it took 3 hours to get that one photo, and it was luck, but it's like I love that photo so much. So yeah, that's it for this video. Please subscribe, check out my playlist down below for other videos of your chart, you know, and always use discernment with all of these videos, because like I said, you know, just because you kind of research astrology and self-help stuff and going to counseling and things, all these things help. But at the end of the day, you are your own person, and, you know, intuitively, you probably know things that other people don't know, maybe. So yeah. Okay, bye.